to the Revelation road trip. We are currently en route.
Yeah, we're on our way to a lot of stops. We're going to be going up to Cedar City, and we're going to be in Colorado City. But really one of the most interesting things along the way is this news conference in Cedar City.
Yeah, it's a press conference for families with missing children that have either been pulled back in or kidnapped back into the FLDS community. And this is pretty worrying because, as you may know by following our YouTube channel, the revelation that Warren Jeffs put out last summer saying that they're going to start celestial plural marriages again, kidnapping young girls now seems to be a phenomenon, and there's some worry that these two incidences are connected.
Yeah, no, of course we found out that when we were talking to some of these folks along the way that Warren and company have now added the dimension that there's some impending apocalypse. You know, the end is coming, so they need to gather up the faithful.
Yeah.
I wish I had a buck for every time that knucklehead has played the impending apocalypse card. You know,
people have been playing that card forever. They thought the world was going to end in 2000.
Yeah, well, Warren has definitely played the end of the world card more than once. And of course, he's scaring his followers.
That's all they do.
This most recent go round with that the end is near, and you better get faithful and right with Warren. And yeah, so anyhow, a number of people spoke families, parents, mothers,
and children who have been abused by the FLDS.
Yeah, it was just so much powerful stuff, and we just want to let some of those sound bites roll. We're going to try to lay down as much of that news conference as we were able to record, and I think we got most of it. So in coming episodes, we're going to share with you what mothers and fathers who have lost children are looking for children who have been abused by the sort of FLDS social network. What happens to these kids when they get separated from their parents?
And just to be clear, this is currently breaking news, so we need help getting the word out there. We need to spread the message. These kids are missing. It's a human trafficking ring, and these kids are not safe, and we need to help them.
And that really was the point of this news conference. So without further ado, let's string together some of those sound bites.
Get 'em rolling.
And we'll be back from the Revelation road trip soon.
Sayonara.
Thank you for coming today. I am Roger Houle. Over the past 20 years, the fundamentalist religious group led by Warren Jeffs, known as the FLDS Church, has had challenging times. Warren Jeffs has been serving a life sentence in prison in Texas since 2006 because of child rape. Since then, many of the FLDS have left that group. Some stay and continue to follow Warren Jeffs. Often, when one parent leaves the group and the other parent stays, there is a conflict over parenting, and it's very difficult to co-parent. This is really hard for the children. And what we are seeing is that as parents try to co-parent, they're not able to do that because one parent sees the other parent as a religious apostate with whom they can have no contact. And it makes it extremely difficult for them to work together. The law has rules that allow parents who can't work together to co-parent. The law has a plan that will work for parents. But what we're seeing is that rather than let the law provide those rules so that the parents can work together for the protection of their children, we're seeing the children disappear from the non-FLDS parent. They're disappearing. They turn up missing. When you ask the FLDS, sometimes you're told they have just run away. But these minor children don't just run away. Somebody's helping them. And they are missing sometimes now for years. The courts are good at addressing this situation when they understand what's going on. But when a child is, quote, run away, close quote, there's not a lot that the courts can do. That's why we're having a press conference today with all of these people here who are experiencing runaway children or have experienced runaway children. We're asking to get the message out that we need help. We need law enforcement help. We need to make this a priority to help find these children. Even though Warren Jeffs has been in prison since 2006, he continues to lead the FLDS Church from his jail cell. One of his latest prophecies, predictions, is that within 5 years, these children all need to be gathered up. And within that period of time, they need to be translated to go to heaven. But his revelations state that they must die first. So this is how serious this is becoming. I hope that that is not going to happen. I hope that our understanding of that is incorrect. But we've seen that kind of thing happen in Jonestown, with Heaven's Gate, and in other situations where people are absolutely convinced that they are right. When people are absolutely convinced that they are right based on religion, sometimes they act against the law or above the law. Sometimes they'll fly an airplane into somebody else's building to kill people. We need to take this more seriously in Utah and in surrounding states where these children are being hidden. And I'd like to ask all of you to talk to the mothers and the fathers that are here. Take a picture of the pictures of the children that they've brought. Hear their stories. Let's get this message out and let's solve this problem. Now, I'd like to turn the time over to anybody who's brave enough to step up and talk for a minute about their situation, their missing children. And I hope that you'll be able to ask questions and find out more about this very serious problem. Thank you.
Hi, I'm Elizabeth Roundy. I actually came all the way from Idaho. This is my daughter. Her name is Elentra D. Fisher. She took my car and ran away at the beginning of this year in the night. Her father called me. He was an hour's drive away and told me she was at his house. He out loud laughed, told me he wouldn't send her home, refused to bring her back. He wouldn't call the police. I have full custody of her. I have the custody papers right here, where the court allowed me to have full custody of all my minor children. It's been a very difficult situation. I feel like, well, the police told me she ran away. There isn't much we can do. And I've tried to explain to them that this is not just her running away. They're hiding her. She was told what to do, where to go. It has been a completely manipulated situation, I believe, with all of the children that are missing. And so I hope we can get awareness out and get our children back while they're still safe.
My name is Lorraine Jessup. I have 3 minor children that have been missing since January. They disappeared in the middle of the night. I had just moved them in with me because the family that they were with would not allow them to have visitation. This is a picture of them and their siblings. So I know that these children were under extreme pressure. When they came, they had been sent with a large package of bandages and walkie-talkies. There were doorknobs hidden for them to find. They also had knives. what kind of picture was painted of me. I've always had a very good relationship with my children, and up until the last little while I was able to visit with them. I am their only legal guardian. I have sole custody. Their father's deceased. When will this be treated as what it is? This is child trafficking. This is kidnapping. This is not just a domestic dispute or children with a desire to run away of their own. They were under extreme pressure during the time that they were with me. Please help. Please help find these children. Last year there was one child missing that I knew of. Now there are 8. Where will it stop? Please help.
I'm one of the more fortunate ones because I've got my 3 minor children in my custody, and the court is doing what we can to keep them safe. They are still at risk. We have to be very careful, make sure that they feel safe. We want them to know we're doing this because we love them, not because we're bitter.
My name is Arana Black. I am a survivor of being human trafficked by the FLDS. I was raised in the FLDS all my life, and at the age of 22, then my parents were sent out of the church. I was not taught anything about life. I didn't know about having a job. Didn't understand how anything worked. I was thrown into a situation with my siblings. They trafficked me and my siblings, and they kept control over me by abusing my siblings. If I didn't do what they felt like they wanted me to do, then they would physically abuse the siblings. They took all phones away, all vehicles, and I was trafficked to 3 different homes through a period of 3 years. One of those I was around absolutely nowhere. No one that I knew. I was in Colorado, and we were left for months at a time with no way to obtain food, and we were just stuck in the home, and they had the windows and doors nailed and screwed shut.
I'm Kaylee Black. I am an adult now, but I was trafficked in the church as a child. We were abused. We seen physical abuse among our siblings and done to us every day. And I am here to put that out there so that people realize that these kids are not safe where they are. They need help. They don't know that because they are being told lies, but they do need help.
One of the things that, I'm Arna, I'm her mother, her father, Jeff there, but one of the things they were told while they were there was that if they got any help, they would be permanently taken away from their parents. So that set a fear in them to get the help they needed, and especially the underage ones that had no idea where's this coming from. But, there were a lot of abuse for 2 years where they were there, and these children are not safe, and it hasn't ended. There's children out there. There has been for 5 to 8 years now that I know of, and they don't know a way out.
Hi, I'm Kaylee Black. Every Sunday that we had to listen to Warren Jeffs' teachings. One of the times I got chased by some of the skills saw for I'd gone in the garage and I was busted. An adult.
Hi, my name is Leander Black. So I am a survivor of human trafficking. I was guys that sit that just talked. So I seen Lola go and make my brother do stuff to his own brother just for wetting the bed. Sexually stuff is what she did. I have been sexually abused from an adult in the church. We spent so much time not being able to eat. Yeah, so we weren't able to sleep when we needed. We had to work for them, and if we didn't work, we weren't able to eat. There was a time where we spent at least 3 days straight in a tomato field, and we had to eat the tomatoes secretly because we couldn't eat because we weren't good enough. And we had to drink water from the rolls of the tomatoes. And yeah, my little 6-year-old brother, we had to work in a tortilla factory, and he would go and put the tortilla balls in the machine, and it could have smashed his arm. It's a big machine, and if we wouldn't have worked, it would have been worse. We would have suffered worse if we weren't out there working.
My name is Jeff Black. I am the father of these kids. My wife and I were forced to leave them under extreme duress as we were sent away. We were not allowed any communication or contact with them. Had I known all of this was going on to them, I would have gone and got them or done something about it. I didn't know anything about it until literally my oldest daughter fled in the nighttime and brought them to us. And then I found out about all of this. Sadly, I have not been able to get any law enforcement yet to help me to prosecute the people who did this to us, to my kids. All of this horrible abuse has gone on, and there's nothing that's happened about it. And it's not for lack of evidence, because all of my kids have kept journals. And this is just an example of one of my daughters here. She has all of this evidence written down, and it's every single day of things that happened. The caretaker was aware, the people who were supposed to be taking care of them knew about this and did nothing. And now we're having the same thing with law enforcement. And so if I could get someone to please help us, because people need brought to justice who have done these horrible things. If we're going to make child abuse illegal, it seems like we ought to do something about it. So that's my plea.
So again, I'm Arnold Black. One of the last times that I met with a FLDS family member, it was a grandmother, and she had seen the abuse and seen my children after they had gone through the abuse, and she'd seen the traumatic effects it had made on them. And then I met her 5 or 6 months later, and she'd met a lot of the FLDS families in this time. And she said to me, I thought your situation was isolated. And she said, no, it's not. There's hundreds of these kids out there. If not every child that is separated from their parents are being abused. So let's get these kids back home. Let's bring these mamas. They're kids. Let's bring these babies home. The adults that didn't know why they're where they are before it's too late. And the reason I say before it's too late is they have threats on them every day. Every day they're being harmed. And they feel like, that they're there to be with the family and their brothers and sisters that they know that are in the church still, but those children are still being abused, and they don't have their parents, and there's nothing like your own mother, nothing like your own father. and they need to be sent back to the parents.
I'm here to support these guys and to help you guys know that this isn't going to stop until somebody stops it. I'm wheelchair bound for the rest of my life. While I was being sent to Canada with men I didn't know at 14 years old. We really need some help getting some of this stopped. Thank you.
My name is Alicia Burnham. I was married to Jerry Bateman, which is brother to Samuel Bateman. At this time, my ex-husband is in Idaho. He is in communication with Warren's son Helaman. He was, he's been trying to take my children from me. I've been going to court for 5 years. It's been a horrible experience. He recently got a communication from Helaman Jeffs from Warren telling him to do all it takes to get my children from me, whether they kidnap them, whatever it takes. And right now, we're on the brink of having to let him take them physically by himself in a visit, which my son Smith told me that he would have a very hard time ever letting them go back, whether it's against the law or not. So this definitely something needs to happen. Everybody needs to be aware of really how dangerous this really is. Thank you.
I'm Charlene Jeffs. I am Lyle's ex-wife. I was his legal wife. While I was married to him, my children were constantly being trafficked. He felt that I was unworthy to have my own children, even while I was within the FLDS. I would be in one state, they would be in another. He trafficked my 2 younger kids to the state of Texas just in time for the Texas raid. This kind of crap goes on. And now that I have this revelation here that Roger has of Helaman about them being translated, I have 7 kids. Yes, they're adults, but they're still in there. I still love them. I am here because I love them. I want them to know what they're doing, and the religion that they think they're in is not a religion of Christ, because they have forgot the greatest commandment, and that is to love one another. And when they shut mothers out or their apostate dads out, they are not following the greatest commandment that God has given, and that is to love one another. And now that there is a time frame on them being celestialized, it scares the living crap out of me, because I will lose my kids. I have 9 grandkids in there, and it is scary, it is real, and we really need to have the state of Utah and these other states wake up and realize that this is a problem, and we shouldn't sweep it under the carpet any longer, because we're done. We are speaking out, we are fighting for our kids, and we're fighting for other people's kids that are going through this same kind of crap.
Hi, I'm Lydia Black. I was sent away from my kids, 7 children, 2012. Told to leave. Divorce starts in all kind of jail. They've been with their dad this whole time. I fought real hard to get them back in my life, and they are in my life. I have joint custody with them today, so they're not missing, but I have such a hard, they are basically turned against me because I'm not part of the church anymore. I'm an apostate, and it's just really hard to see the fear they live in every day. They don't dare kick balls, ride bikes. They used to, but since July, and Helaman came into the picture, they're afraid to do anything. They're afraid to do anything that may keep them from their salvation. I try my hardest as a single mom to provide life and give them anything that I can, so they can be just a child. And they're turned against me. They don't call me. I have to call them. I have 3 adult children that have been cut off from me. As soon as they turn 18, their dad says that if they have anything to do with me, then they lose their religion and he'll have nothing to do with them. I have one daughter that did leave, and he told her that he no longer is her father anymore and has never reached out to her since. And I still have 3 more I haven't seen or talked to since they've become adults. So I just want this to stop. I want my kids to be happy. I'll do anything for them and just live a normal life, make their own choices, because they can't. Not where they're at right now. There's too much fear and pressure upon them.
Hi, my name is Georgia Cook. I grew up in the FLDS and I left when I was 13 years old. My parents actually both got asked to leave, and my mom and my dad were very my mom wanted us to go with her. She was seeing some signs, and she actually grew up here in Cedar City. She went to college here and she ended up back out there, and she was seeing some signs and some things that she didn't like, and she wanted us to go. But my dad wanted us to stay because he believed what he believed. So they gave us a choice, which was something I don't know that any other kids got. They gave us the choice to leave. And when we chose to leave, I was a 12-year-old girl, and I believed I chose to die. I believed I would be dead within a year, and not only would I die, but I believed I chose eternal damnation. And I was willing to do anything that I was told out there. So these threats are very real. You didn't realize that you were even being abused because it was just the normal. As a kid, after we left, I would tell stories to my friends that I made up here, and they would just sit there with horror, looks of horror on their faces because it wasn't normal. And suddenly I was like, whoa, I went through stuff, but because it was so normalized, you don't know. These kids don't know. They're just doing what they're told. And if they don't do what they're told, they lose everything. They lose their family, they lose food, they get abused, they need help. So if you don't think these threats are real, they really are.
Mike?
Yeah, I think that people who have been following this after the revelation and then starting to talk to become aware of these individual families, it was easy to think it was just one-off, this family here. But clearly over the months, we've documented some, you're aware of some. This doesn't seem like it's just Elizabeth Roundy. It's not just Dan and Maxine. It's a lot of people. And in the charging documents against Heber, it indicates that he may have been acting at Warren and Helaman's direction. That speaks to me. You're a lawyer. That says to me a conspiracy, an honest, legal, criminal conspiracy. Is that where law enforcement should be looking and connecting these dots?
Yeah, I think it is a conspiracy, and I think it ought to be investigated, and if they can develop a case, it ought to be prosecuted. You need to understand that in the FLDS, the children belong to the leaders. They don't belong to the parents. The parents only have a stewardship. So when the leaders tell the parents to leave, or send the children somewhere, or as is happening now, the FLDS parents are being told to gather up their children, they do it. But it's all coming from the top. And they're property of the priesthood, property of the leaders. So they do what they're asked to do. These parents who have spoken today are just a small set of the parents who have lost their children. What is different is that so many of these parents have left the church and are asserting their legal rights, that we're getting into a situation where you've got one parent versus another parent, both with equal constitutional religious rights, but one parent is instructed by the church not to have any contact with the other parent and not to allow the children to have any contact with the non-FLDS parent. That's the dilemma we've got now. And the law has a way to solve that problem. There are rules in place for the protection of children, but when children are run away or disappear and are missing, then we have a problem. That's why we're having a press conference today. But these are just some of the parents affected.
Thank you.
He has been instrumental in helping all of us get our children.
I just wanted to say one more thing. When we got taken away from our parents, me and my siblings, we were not allowed to think about them, remember them. We were told we had to forget them in order for them to repent. And if they saw us with a picture, that we would get a consequence, we'd get food taken away, we would get beat, we would suffer for thinking about them and remembering them. And I believe other kids out there are going through the same thing, and so they don't dare look for their parents, because it's worse to remember their parents. And I want them to be helped. I don't want to know that they're out there suffering anymore. They need to see their parents. They need love.
My name is Miranda Johnson. I'm missing my 3 sons. Today has been 170 days since I have seen or heard from my 3 sons. Last August, I was awarded full physical temporary custody. I was able to get them started in school up in Lehi, Utah. My oldest was on track to graduate this year. 2.5 months later, after a rough transition, things were slowly getting better. And then on Saturday morning, October 29th, they were scheduled to go with their physical fitness team to a competition they had previously been excited about. All 3 were qualified to go, and they had worked hard to make the team. They had talked about the trip the night before. That morning, they suddenly were refusing to go. A few hours later, they left the house, told me they were going to a park and that they would be back later that day. I haven't seen them or heard from them since. Someone enabled them to travel. The police later picked up a ping from their phones north of Beaver, only 2 hours after they had left my house. And then again in Beaver, showing that they had been moving south before their phones were shut off altogether. Last summer, there was only one kid missing. Since my sons have gone missing, 5 other kids that I know of have gone missing. Thankfully, 1 was recovered, but the total now missing is 8 children. These 8 particular children show an alarming trend. Each of these 8 children are missing from their mothers. These aren't children going missing from fathers right now. I know there has been some, but right now the trend is missing from the mothers. And there's as many mothers still who are clinging on to their children for dear life, afraid to turn their backs for a second for fear of someone taking their children. Even years after leaving the FLDS community, we continue to be controlled by power-hungry individuals through controlling our children. They want our children to not have us in their lives, simply because we have exercised our freedom and free agency and chosen to leave their way of life. The people who have our children believe that if us moms make choices they don't agree with, we lose our rights as parents, and they then have full justification to steal our children and turn them against us. This is kidnapping, trafficking, child endangerment, custody interference, and child abuse. We are asking law enforcement to take this more seriously. This is a growing trend. This is not a civil matter and should not be treated as such. For my kids' sake, I do not wish to see any of their friends and family members get in trouble for this with the law, but also it's not good for my kids or anyone to see this type of behavior swept under the rug. So I say again, this trend will continue to grow unless it is taken more seriously. The people who have our children have found a loophole to simply just deny they have our children or know where they are. Yet they don't seem to be worried about our children, nor have they shown any interest in helping us find them. We are truly living through what can only be described as a living bereavement. I know for myself, and I'm sure these other moms. I know for myself I have felt indescribable grief and anguish. Anytime I see a boy who is the ages of my boys, I am searching their faces to see if it is my sons. Likewise, when I see a mom with her preteen and teenage sons, I am stricken with unfathomable amount of pain and sadness, sometimes without warning. I find myself looking at their pictures with any free time and reminiscing as if they are no longer alive. This is cruel and this is unnecessary. To my sons, I know when you see this you will be encouraged to mock and laugh at me, but regardless, I'm just grateful for a way to hopefully get a message to you. Maybe you will feel anger towards me and I am sorry for that. But I am not the victim here. You, all the children, all the missing children are the ones unfairly and cruelly caught up in this debacle. And you need peace. You do not need, nor do you deserve, to be a fugitive and live your life in fear. I want to encourage you to seek the help that you need. Ask the questions and find the answers, because the answers are out there. I hope you will someday recognize the sheer amount of courage that it takes for myself and these other moms to speak up in this way today. This isn't easy, and it's definitely not anything I would ever thought I would have to do. But fighting for my children and their rights, their future, their freedom is something I will always put myself on the line for. Stay strong and watch out for each other. Help others as much as you can. Know that your mother loves you with all of her heart and with an unending and undying love. I believe in you, and I'm so grateful for you. Love, Mom.